welcome to the 9th episode of 54015. I'm Jeremy Altman.
And I'm Beth Peterson.
So today we're going to discuss some recent tech news and give an update on the 18F Agile Delivery Services BPA. But before we get started, please like us. Please like our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter at 540kill. And for those of you joining on Meerkat and Periscope, please like and retweet. So today, I guess I'll get us started. Some recent tech news. We've heard about a couple of data breaches, a couple of sites getting hacked. So I want to go through kind of the differences between those two and maybe give a few security tips on how we can avoid some of that, or at least be better prepared when it happens. So the first one, a couple of weeks ago, we heard from the U.S. OPM, which is the Office of Personnel Management for the federal government. They announced that some of their federal employee information had been compromised. It actually turns out that it's a pretty significant a data breach. They have a system called Equip that individuals log on to when they're applying for a security clearance. And that system houses a lot of very personal and sensitive information, personally identifiable information. Just for example, some of their financial history, investment records, relatives' names, some of their children's names, trips that they've taken, to foreign countries and foreign nationals they've worked with, where they've lived the past X number of years. So a lot of very, very sensitive information to those people has been, taken by hackers. Last count that I've seen, it was roughly 4 million people have been affected by that. So definitely serious, and I don't think it was limited to just federal employees. I think government contractors could also be affected as well. So definitely want to keep an eye on that and just see how that progresses. So the second one that we've heard more recently is with the password management service called LastPass. So that came out. They were actually compromised on Friday, and we heard a little bit more about it yesterday. For them, it doesn't appear to be as serious of a breach because they had a lot of precautions in place in case something like this happened. But email addresses and password reminders and the encrypted master passwords were a few pieces of information that were taken. So being that the master passwords were encrypted, it's not a huge deal because the hackers still have to go through the work to actually decrypt those and figure those out. So if you are a member of LastPass, you do use that service, I would still go ahead and say change your master password. So if we look at these two breaches, a lot of times when we're developing web applications, we're really concerned with security from the standpoint of user authentication, application authentication. If we have APIs, how do we secure the communication between the third-party apps and our application? But we don't always consider how do we protect the data itself when it's on our system. So that's one of the things we need to think about, that securing the data in transit is not enough. We also need to secure the data at rest. So what does that mean? That really means that any sensitive information that we are storing, any sensitive data, we need to encrypt that in our databases, so that if someone does bypass all the other security mechanisms we have in place, we still have some protections on the data itself. So encrypt all your sensitive data. One of the good things about LastPass is they use salts when they're encrypting the data. Which is just another piece of information that's added to the password when it's encrypted to make it harder to guess. And they do not use a single salt for all of the passwords. They have a different salt for every password that they encrypt. The good thing about that is that if multiple users were using the same password and they also use the same salt, then it'll be pretty obvious that if they cracked one, that they'd be able to know the passwords of the other users. but using a different salt for each one, that eliminates that possibility. Also, use very strong hashing algorithms with a large number of iterations. So it was noted in an email that they sent out that one of the pieces of their hashing algorithm has 100,000 iterations. So computers are very powerful nowadays, and so 100,000 iterations is, to us, pretty quick when we're going to log in, so we don't even notice that many things are happening when they're decrypting our password. But for a brute force attack, those 100,000 iterations actually add up, so it's not as easy to get through guessing what the passwords are. So that's something else we need to consider. Securing our data at rest, use very strong hashing algorithms with a large number of iterations, and encrypt the sensitive data. So I think that's it for the first topic. Now
Sure.
I'll throw it over to Beth for our second topic.
Sure. So I guess before I go into that, it seems like looking at the two of those, OPM could have learned a lot from, they could have done a lot of
Absolutely.
things very differently in that situation.
Yeah, and so even a lot of security experts, even responding to the LastPass, they're not really concerned. One expert said he's not even worried about changing his master password. I would still say go change it just to be safe in case they do happen to decrypt it, but the LastPass breach is very, very minimal.
Yeah.
But OPM, serious.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting to see those comparisons.
exactly.
So our second topic today is just a quick update, and I know we've talked about it in the last few 540-15s, and we're getting pretty excited about it here at 540. So today should be the release of the Agile Delivery BPA at 18F, and we're all really excited. It's a short turnaround, so we're getting ready to work hard and fast. And we just kind of wanted to give everyone, since we have been talking about it, throughout the weeks here, just kind of discussing the prep work and just generally, anything that comes out of 18F, any new things. So we thought we'd bring it up here as well. I guess we're going to chat about it a little bit, but.
Yeah. And the cool thing is they're trying to do stuff a little different than normal proposals. For this particular thing, they're actually having the vendors create a small working prototype so they can kind of see the development process of the vendors. They're using GitHub to put a lot of the information out there. So a lot of stuff revolving this particular BPA is more about the working prototype and less about all the writing and proposals and that sort of thing. So that's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Of course, you still have some of that, but
Sure,
a lot of it
sure.
is focused on the working prototype, which
Exactly.
seems like it'll be really interesting.
And it seems like they're doing a big push. They really want to dive into kind of the development process that all the vendors are doing. What type of development practices do they have? What tools are they using? Just to kind of make sure that they're a good fit for kind of the chemistry with 18F and can handle doing kind of agile development for the federal government.
Right,
So,
right.
really cool stuff.
Yeah, very awesome. I'm excited. I think it'll be interesting since it is kind of a unique setup for an RFQ. It'll be interesting to just kind of see, the response and how it works,
Right.
and if other, organizations within the federal government adopt this strategy, going forward,
that would
which
be
would be awesome. Yeah, I know we at 540 would enjoy that if that were the case.
Definitely.
So yeah, we're pretty excited about that here, and looks like it should be today. So
That will be great.
Yeah.
And keep an eye on our Twitter feed, 540Kill. When that BPA actually hits, we'll be doing a lot of social media outreach, just giving an idea of some of the stuff that we're doing for that. So definitely keep an eye on our Twitter feed, Facebook page, etc.
definitely be tweeting while we work.
Maybe some more meerkats and periscopes,
Yeah.
showing some of the live action.
Maybe
so.
late night ones. Those could
Indeed.
always be interesting. Yeah.
A couple all-nighters, who knows? Don't know if there'll be enough time. Very cool. So yeah, that's it for the BPA. One other topic that I want to talk about regarding security. So we talked a little bit about the data at rest up front. We should still be thinking about how do we secure our APIs and some of that communication between apps and our data. So I'll just give a few quick pointers on some of the things that we can do to secure APIs. The very first one, always use HTTPS. We don't want anything being sent over in plain text where it's easy to pick off information. So always use that. You don't want to go out and create your own custom authentication scheme. Use one of the known schemes that are out there. They've been, thoroughly tested, vetted to try to pull out any vulnerabilities. So, if at all possible, use something like that, like OAuth 1OA. Was a little bit older, mostly for non-HTTPS traffic, but now you have OAuth 2 that is more tailored for HTTPS and a little easier to work with because you don't have to do the signatures. So a little bit easier for developers to implement that. Nowadays, there are a lot of client applications, so JavaScript, very client side, making AJAX requests. So with that, we might need to enable cross-site requests happening from these applications to our APIs. So if you're going to use cores to do that, consider doing domain whitelisting. Now, this is not a foolproof plan. The domains and IP addresses and all that can be spoofed, but it does add one more layer of protection to try to limit the domains that those requests can come from. Secure your application credentials, so don't put your API keys and secrets in source control for anyone to see. That's kind of an obvious one, but I have seen it happen, so please don't do that. And one of the last tips I have is that the application credentials by themselves should never be used to make authorization decisions by themselves. You should always take into consideration who is the user. So use the user credentials or the user access token along with the application to give a more secure check to make sure it is the right person. So I think that's it. Do you have anything else today?
I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very quick 5:40:15 today. So before you guys leave, again, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, 540kill.
And you're Killer BGT.
I'm Killer BGT.
I'm EG Peterson 90.
And we'll put some of the links about some of these data breaches and the 18F thing in the show notes. So follow us on Twitter
and
at 540kill.
Join us next week for.
Yes, join us next week. Episode 10. Episode 10.
I want in.